Good evening and welcome to Hatching for Health, the Jessica Hatch Show. Tonight's guest is calling in from Wichita, Kansas. We have the mother Melissa and her son Marky. Now he has a condition that is actually 1 in every million. The particular diagnosis is epidermolysis bullosa. So there are 4 different forms of this. The one he has happens to be 1 in a million, and we're gonna learn all about it tonight. So thank you guys, Melissa, Marky. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good.
We're a little bit tired, but we're good.
Yeah, I know you said he had some trouble sleeping last night. Is that a regular thing?
He had a corneal abrasion since Monday, so he was in a lot of pain, and so it was just a really long night.
No.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys making it work this morning. So tell me a little bit about his condition and, when the diagnosis came about. Is this something that they know right when they're born, or it took a little bit to, get all of the diagnosis confirmed?
With the recessive dystrophic, it's known right away. It's known right away because when his brother was born, I had an older son with this disease, and we lost him in 2013. But when they were both born, they were born without the skin on their legs, hands, chest, feet. And so it's pretty apparent with the recessive dystrophic right away at birth. With the other less severe forms, it can develop over time. But with the recessive dystrophic, it's noticeable right away because they literally come out of the womb with no skin on the chest, no skin on the hands, no skin on the feet. Sometimes there's no skin on the legs.
Blood everywhere.
Yeah. It kind of looks like when they're born that they've been born with third degree burns.
Wow.
So it's right away. It's even in the womb, they're causing damage to themselves when they kick their feet, when they move around in the womb, they're still causing damage to themselves.
Okay, so he was actually a twin. Is that what you were saying?
They were 13 months apart.
Oh, okay. They were 13 months apart. Okay, and he had the same condition, being born with it. And so, was the severity, I guess, is it the same, or is Marky's less severe?
No, it was the same severity.
Okay.
It's just that my older son's, it progressed more rapidly. So with the recessive dystrophic, it's progressive. So the older they get, the worse the disease becomes. So, and his just progressed more rapidly, and they really don't know why that is. They're still discovering all these different things. Like they just discovered that Marky has another subtype on top of the recessive dystrophic, which is the Kindler syndrome. So, and they just discovered that within just the last year. So they're still learning things about, the recessive dystrophic is such a progressive illness, and there's things that they're learning every single day about it. And so for some reason, and they can't really pinpoint why, Bob's is my other son, his just progressed more rapidly.
Wow. So the name epidermolysis bullosa is kind of like an umbrella, but then the 4 you mentioned, he has the one that you keep repeating, and it's a difficult name. That's actually the most uncommon, like I guess the most rare. You were saying because it's like 1 in a million and both of your boys actually had that one.
Yes.
Wow.
And when I became pregnant with Marky, I went and I saw a geneticist. Because I was on 2 forms of birth control when I got pregnant with him. So it came I didn't even know I was pregnant until I was 3 months along, because I was on birth control when I got pregnant with my other one, and I was like, okay, we got to try something different. So I went on 2 different kinds, and I still got pregnant. So I went and I saw a geneticist, and at this time, almost 21 years ago now, there was no way of testing in the womb. Like the science just wasn't there yet.
Okay.
And so, but I did see a geneticist, and he told me that there was no chance. He said, I've done research on this. I can't find any case studies on siblings being born with this. If he is born with an EB, it's going to be a less severe form, but I don't even really see that happening. And
really?
And he was born with the exact same kind.
Unbelievable. And so Marky, how old are you?
I'm 20.
20?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm about to be 21.
Yep, he's going to be 21 in September.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, back then there was not what there is today, by no means, because there would have been
no means. Like now they have CRISPR, they have all this stuff, and back then there was nothing.
And so is it tied to like the chromosomes from you and your husband, or is it not even related to that at all? Like
It is a recessive gene, so that's hence. So the other three forms are the junctional, the simplex, the dominant dystrophic, and then the recessive. And so the recessive is both the parents have to carry the gene for the child to receive the disease. So I have a 25-year-old who has a different father, and he was born perfectly healthy. So if I were, now my tubes are tied since I was like, I'm not taking any more chances on birth control. So I got my tubes tied. So, but if I were to go on and have a child with my current husband, who's not the boys' biological father, that child would have zero chance of being born with it because my current husband does not carry the gene.
Okay.
Even though I do, he doesn't. So,
I see. So y'all both did carry Marky's dad. And and that's why both sons ended up having. So when both parents carry it, it's almost like you're going to have, a child with that condition. Like the chances are very high, but not. Yes. Okay. And you
so
didn't know.
Father, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and you didn't, know that you had like that particular, gene that was gonna, and neither did your husband.
There was never a case of it in our family at all. Like, I mean, and my mom, she's like a family history buff. She does like the whole the tree, like going all the way back to Europe. And there's never been a case of it. And like I said, my 25-year-old, he was born perfectly healthy, no issues, no concerns.
He has a baby grown up.
Yeah, he was born perfectly healthy. I mean, the picture of health. And so there was just, and the thing of it is like, even if I were to 21 years ago have gone and been like, hey, I want to get tested for, any type of defect or what have you, they still would never have tested for this disease because it is so incredibly rare. Even today, they have the science, you have to specifically state, I want to be tested for this specific disease because it is so incredibly rare. It's not on the list of things to be tested for when you go to a doctor and say, hey, I want to get pregnant, I want to be tested. Because my daughter-in-law did. When her and my son got married, she went in and she was like, hey, I want to be tested. She got her results back. She's like, oh, you didn't test for this. And they're like, oh, we didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she had to go back and ask them to test her before they had kids.
Yeah, I'm the only kid in Canada that had it.
Yeah, he's the only child in our state that has this.
Wow. Have y'all personally even met other children that have it? I mean, maybe through social media, but you have?
So, yeah, through social media, yeah. And actually, when we went to California, we met one in person.
You did? So tell me, are you... go ahead.
You have it as bad like I do.
Yeah, so she had the recessive dystrophic, but she doesn't have the Kindler. So Marky's was still even progressively worse than hers.
Wow.
Yeah, she can still move and everything.
Walk and all that.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. So, Marky, do you get out of the wheelchair at all? Or are you always in there?
Yes. All my life I've been in a wheelchair. I can't walk at all. So I tried to crawl when I was a little baby, but I fell down and my whole skin just came right off.
He tried to crawl when he was an infant, and he slid on the carpet and tore the skin from his chin to his chest. And so I never could get him to do it after that.
Yeah, I never cried after that. So,
really?
And my legs are contracted really bad, so all my life I've been in a wheelchair.
So,
when
and
he
is it...
born, he was born with his left foot clubbed as well. Like it was just like a ball. Like his left foot is just a ball.
Yeah, I don't have my toes on my left foot.
Yeah.
And I also don't have any fingernails.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So is it painful for you? Like, is it painful to try and hold things or when things rub against the skin?
It's tricky.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Tricky?
Yeah, because my hands are almost close to forming a fist.
Yeah. So every kid with this type of EB, eventually over time, their hands will contract into balls, and they'll have to have them surgically opened. And it's just because of the years of just the skin tightening from the wounds healing and healing and healing, the constant rehealing. It just tightens and tightens and tightens.
Is is there certain physical therapy or even therapists that are are knowledgeable enough that work with children with this, or is that not something that is really in the cards to make a difference?
Not in our area. We would have to drive about 4 hours. So I do physical therapy with him at home, which is what has kept his hands open so far. Usually by this age, yeah. So usually by this age, they've had their hands opened anywhere from 3 to 4 times, and he's yet to actually have the surgery because of what we do at home. Yeah. But I couldn't prevent his legs from contracting. That's just, I mean, no matter what we did, no matter how hard we tried, from him never being able to actually extend and stand, he's always either gone from the bed or into a sitting position. His legs just slowly started to contract.
Okay. So in the...
Eventually they're going to have to go in and break my bones.
Well, hopefully we won't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically kind of around the clock care that he needs. Like it's pretty much anything and everything. Is he for the restroom, is he set up with like a bag, or does you actually kind of physically take him and lift him each time that he has to use the restroom?
No, he's incontinent.
Oh, okay. So, and then with food, is he able, like, are you able to eat, Marky, or do you have to do everything through feeding tubes?
I can be able to eat, but I even got wounds in my throat, and I have to get irritations if I choke too much.
Yeah. So with the recessive dystrophic, it's anywhere that there's skin or mucous membrane. So it's in his eyes, which is why he had the corneal abrasion. He gets those quite a lot. In his mouth, his throat, his esophagus, his stomach. So his esophagus will narrow so much until it just closes completely, and he'll have to go in and they'll take a balloon and they'll pop his esophagus back open.
Wow. So most of the nutrients he's getting is through basically like a feeding tube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
He has a Mickey butt.
Okay.
You still do? Yes, he still likes to eat.
Yeah, I bet. We do have to take a quick break, but I want to go talk a lot more, but I want to go into more about the feeding and what type of things that he's able to consume. But we will be right back after this commercial break, and we will get to see some videos and footage as well of Marky during the break.
I have to praise Jesus.
You have to praise Jesus?
Yes.
Your daddy killed it last night though, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Are you so proud of him?
Yes, Mama.
Kiss me out of the bearded morning nightly, beside the green, green grass. Swing, swing, swing the spinning step. You wear the shoes and I will wear the dress.
Oh, I love
Can I have a hug too? Can I have a hug too? Aww. Don't put your arms around me, Mama. Put your arms around me.
Aww.
You did? You were on a helicopter, buddy? You did? Was that awesome? Oh, awesome.
I kept telling him to go faster and faster.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Alright, let's get ready. Alright, in 3, 2, 1, go! Come on, Marky! Good job, bro.
Imagine hearing the news as a parent that your child has been diagnosed with a condition that is degenerative or life-threatening. Now imagine being told that there's little to no research for the condition that even exists, making it difficult to try and figure out what to do next. The reality is that for so many rare conditions, finding specialists who understand the condition and being able to make informed treatment decisions for their child is very challenging. Each episode, I will help with my network of physicians and medical resources across the U.S. to attempt to connect the dots by bringing widespread recognition of rare conditions and connecting families to the best treatment, clinical experts, resources, and support. I'm going to highlight these hard-to-diagnose diseases and offer in-depth awareness for families of children in the rare disease community. I believe we are all in charge of our own healthcare, and pushing for answers and creating awareness for these various rare health conditions can make the world around us a better place. Not only am I a huge advocate who seeks to spearhead the fight to bring rare conditions to the forefront of research, but I personally had my own rare condition. In this rare condition, I was able to be cured of due to early detection. My passion to help others was fueled by that experience, and it has led me to start the Hatching for Health show. Now, this show is a vehicle for us to create awareness to help these children find cures. Welcome back from the break. If you've just joined us, we are speaking with a mother and son that are out of Kansas, and her son has epidermolysis bullosa, and this is a condition that has several forms actually. One that he has is very rare. So Melissa and Marky, coming back to you guys, so I didn't even really know till we got started that, you know, you had another son, Carlos, who also had this condition. And I was just kind of understanding from you guys like what the medical appointments look like, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And you had just kind of brought up during the commercial break that there was a moment where they both had to essentially be life-flighted to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly happened where they're both, you know, at a point of severity where they need to be, you know, hospitalized?
So they've had to be hospitalized for different reasons over the years. This particular time, they both needed some iron. And this was actually the first time in both their lives they had both been hospitalized at the same time. And they tried to treat them locally here in Wichita, and it just wasn't working. I was like, you know what? I just would feel more comfortable if they were with their specialist in Kansas City, which is about a 4-hour drive flight. And so since both of them needed to be there, and they both needed some blood, which is also which is both common with EB. And so me and my husband weren't able to be on the plane with them because both of them were there, plus all the medical staff. And so we met them in Kansas City when they got there, and they brought Marky into the room we were in. I walked out to go say hi to Babas to let him know that I was there and I was waiting for him. And that's when he had passed away. He had taken his last breath. And there was no indication that was going to happen. He's taking just a little bit of a break. Okay. But there was no indication that was going to happen at all. Even the medics on the flight came in and talked to me afterwards, and even they were just as surprised.
Really?
They're like, you know, all of his vitals were normal, everything was going good, and they, to this day, you know, even the doctors really can't. They just said, you know, his heart just gave out. It just, you know, just kind of gave up. And God. So, but it kind of came just out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. Yeah, and as far as like, you know, Marky, for example, and really other children, are they giving a certain amount of years to live, just knowing what they're going to be going through, and really the dedication it takes from, you know, not only the parents, but just the individual themselves, like understanding what they're capable of and not capable of. Like, what age do typically the children live till? Well, they gave Marky and Babas both a prognosis of 13, 14 years old, and Babas was 14 when he passed away. We lost him November 21st, 2013, and he would have turned 15 that following April in 2014. And with Babas, you know, his personality was significantly different than Marky. Marky's always been, I don't really know, he's just been more positive mindset. Babas, I think towards the last year of his life, His wounds were significantly worse. His whole body, his whole body just was kind of hunching forward. He was on oxygen. He could barely really get up out of bed for lengths of time. He was in excruciating pain. It was very, very hard keeping his pain controlled and managed.
Really?
It just seemed like no matter what we did, his pain was it was off the charts.
Wow.
And I think that was just too much for his heart to really handle, just the constant healing. And then as his wounds were healing, his pain was getting out of control and having to be on the oxygen 24/7. And I think it just kind of got to be too much for him mentally, emotionally, physically. And that happens a lot with kids with the recessive dystrophic, is that it's a lot to take on. And it's as he got older and his wounds became worse and worse and worse, and his pain became harder and harder to manage. I think he just kind of was just tired of being in pain so much.
Of course. So essentially, their entire body, like all of their skin, is extremely sensitive. Like any kind of, like you were mentioning, if it's rubbed against, it's gonna basically like scab up, because it's almost like a burn has just happened. Mm-hmm. And so anything that touches it's gonna be not only look painful, but it is right? Yes. Okay.
So it's any type of friction, any type of rubbing or friction takes and because there's only the one layer with the RDEB. So instead of having the 7 layers, they only have the one. So any type of friction or anything like that takes that one layer completely off.
Okay.
And if shearing happens, it causes fluid to build up between that one layer, and then you have to pop that blister, or else it kind of takes over. And then that when it does finally pop, you have a very large, just open area.
Wow. So is that on a regular basis? There's basically blisters that he has to have, popped or pressed against to kind of release the fluid, and that's
almost daily.
Really. Wow. And you talked about the eyes and the site. There's also buildup of, is it like a mucus or pus that builds up within the actual eye socket around the eye?
No. So anywhere he has mucous membranes is also affected by the EB. So that includes the eyes, the mouth, the esophagus, the throat, the tongue, anywhere. So that's why he can't really have a lot of dental work done, because even brushing his teeth with a toothette can cause it to bleed. So it's hard to keep his dental under control because of that. But so with the corneal abrasions, it's how we sometimes we'll get tired and we'll rub our eyes. Well, for him, even doing that simple act will cause that layer to come off, the top layer of his eye, just to cause an abrasion in his cornea.
Goodness.
Yeah, it opened for the first time today since Monday.
It opened as in the blister? Oh, okay. So it's basically been closed just because of the blistering on it?
Abrasion. No,
wow.
Just the abrasion. So it's like an open wound on the eye. It's say if we got hit, if somebody took a pin or something and just jabbed us in the eye and then caused a wound in our eye.
Oh God.
He gets that just by scratching his eye.
Wow. Well, so Marky, you're very brave, just to even, be willing to come on and kind of talk about this. You are such a rarity in the world. And so you being able to share your story, is just so important. You see people with different conditions, and sometimes you wouldn't even know it, because they look healthy on the outside, but you actually, have the symptoms and conditions on the outside where people wonder, what is this, and I think it's important for others to be educated, and to take away that, judging mentality. But I know you as a mother, now having had 2 sons with this and one, alive and healthy, you talked a little bit about, you've actually set up a 501c, and what is that called, the organization that you started?
ironbutterfly.com.
Okay, so ironbutterfly.com, and you're actually reaching out to other children really around the country, or the world even, you mentioned, helping that don't have access.
Yeah, sorry. So
no, you're fine.
My thing was, so there's amazing organizations here in the United States. There's Deborah.org, there's EB Research, there's the EB Research Foundation that actually was started by Eddie Vedder and his wife. that they became huge. I mean, just humongous EB advocates, and they started the EB Research Foundation. And then there is the EBRD, Epidermolysis Bullosa Research Foundation, that was started. Kelly Kwoko's manager was born with their son or daughter, I can't remember which, was born with EB, and they started the EB Research Foundation. And so there's amazing organizations here in the United States that help, but there's nothing like over in these third world countries like Vietnam, India, things of that nature, that these kids literally, they pass away not just from the EB, but not having enough nutrition, because they burn so many calories just by the wounds healing that they need sometimes 4 to 5 times the amount of calories that we take in.
Oh,
like,
really?
We
That's
want to
interesting.
reduce our calories so that we can lose weight.
Yeah.
But kids with EB, they need 5 times that just for their wounds to heal, because of all the albumin that they lose in their wounds.
Yeah.
So if they're not taking in enough calories, and they don't have enough calories for their wounds to burn, because they're just burning enough calories just to survive. So then their wounds are not healing.
Yeah.
And then also the actual bandages, because they can't just use a Band-Aid. There's like specific bandages that they need and require for their wounds to heal, and they just don't have access to that in these countries. And
so your organization is set up to actually get these, these different items, whether it's bandaging or different food supplies, like set up and connected and shipped to these different families or medical organizations that are in need. And that's huge. And so I guess that's kind of what the butterfly part of the name is, kind of getting like flying to other people. So, and is this something that you're doing on your own?
Yeah, I started it on my own. I have a couple of people that I know are going to help me once I get it up off the ground. But I've started it and done all the paperwork and all of that. And so I'm just waiting for them to send me back my actual like 501(c) number, so that I can start like accepting people sending this stuff in and sending it, because I already established that I don't want any cash donations, because that turns into a whole other ordeal.
Yeah.
Just bandages and formula, and I mean, a lot of them don't even have Mickey buttons or access to get that, or just I want to find doctors that are willing to operate and give these kids these buttons for free and do the operations for free, because they don't have medical insurance in these countries either, so they're not even able to get the Mickey buttons to give them the nutrition. So
for sure.
I also want to get in contact with like Red Cross in these countries and find doctors that'll be willing to help these children of their own free volition, so that these kids can get what they need, because they're passing away at a young age, just in horrible ways. Just
the lack of resources. Well, however we can help. I definitely have a lot of contacts in the medical space, so I'd love to, like offline, be able to put you in touch with some people that may have resources. We do have to wrap up, but just is there any surgeries or anything that a child, or adult can have done to create healing, or it's pretty much kind of living with the condition at this point based on what research is out there?
So there are a lot of clinical studies going on right now. Like, we've been to Stanford and back several times. The issue is not really the lack of science, it's the lack of funding, because these doctors are doing this on a donation basis. Like, the research is being funded by some pharmaceutical companies, but they only have a limited space for so many kids to enter these trials. And so places like Spain, Denmark, they are so close to so many different types and ways of they're almost on the brink of a cure. Just they're almost there, but not for the RDEB. So it's mainly for like the junctional, the simplex, the dominant. They're close to finding ways for kids with RDEB to live more comfortably, less itching, less wounds, but it's mainly over in Europe. Our FDA is just not allowing
coming up with,
but what they are allowing right now is at Stanford, he's able to, they're growing his skin, they're going to inject it with the collagen 7, his body's not growing, and then they're going to graft that onto his wounds that he's had he's had wounds for like several years that are just not healing. They're going to graft it onto those wounds and see if they can heal those wounds.
Of course.
So there are a lot of clinical trials and clinical studies.
That's good to hear, and that's what this is about. I mean, creating more awareness so that others can, jump on board or be connected to potentially put more funding into research. So, if there's anything that does come up that you end up being made aware of, always share that with us so we can put that out there to the public. But we'll definitely be in touch if there's anything I can do to help continue your 501c3 and get that off the ground. I'd love to do that. So Marky, thank you so much for joining us. Melissa, we really enjoyed you guys, and we will stay in touch, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye guys. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Hatching for Health. We'll be right back here with you next Tuesday at 7:30.